How I survived a toxic relationship and rebuilt my life. My name is Gabriel. I'm 26 years old, and until recently, I thought I understood what emotional freedom was. I work in graphic design, and at the time, I lived in a small but comfortable apartment that I decorated down to the last detail. From the outside, my life seemed stable. Friends nearby, a job that gave me a sense of pride, and a relationship that for a long time I thought was true love. I'd been with Clara for almost 2 years, and while not everything was perfect, I believed it was the closest thing to a real partnership I could get. We made plans, talked about children, trips, moving in together. I trusted her. Maybe that's why it was so hard to see the signs when everything started to fall apart. At first, it was just jealousy disguised as concern. Things like, "Do you really need to go out with that single friend of yours?" Or, "Shouldn't you tell me who you're having lunch with?" Her voice was sweet, but behind the question lay a silent demand. Little by little, I started changing small routines. I avoided going out with certain friends, responded to messages more quickly than usual, and stopped posting certain things on social media to avoid arguments. I thought it was just adaptation, that every relationship required compromise. Little did I know I was abandoning myself to fit into a version of myself that Clara deemed acceptable. And the more I gave in, the more she tightened her grip, always with a smile on her face and a "it's because I care." Over time, my mind became a battlefield. I'd wake up with my phone in hand, checking to see if I'd replied to Clara correctly the night before, worried she'd misinterpreted a message. I began to feel guilty for wanting to be alone, for spending time with my friends, even for being too quiet. When I tried to talk about how I was feeling, she played the victim. She'd say I was growing cold, that I didn't love her anymore, that maybe it would be better if I stayed with one of my girlfriends. It tore me apart inside. I didn't want to hurt her, so I kept quiet. Living in this fragile balance slowly drained me, but I kept believing that if I was patient enough, things would get better. The final straw came one random Sunday when she went through my phone while I was showering. She found a conversation with my cousin and freaked out. She threw the phone at the wall and yelled at me as if I had unforgivably betrayed her trust. That night, Clara slammed the door, and for the first time in a long time I felt relief. But it was only a respite. The next day, she returned with a bouquet of flowers and tears in her eyes, telling me she loved me, that she was going through a difficult time, that it was all anxiety's fault. And I, emotionally weak, believed her. I opened the door again. That was the first time I realized that breaking out of a cycle like that isn't like turning a key. It's an internal struggle between reason and affection, between fear and compassion. Over the next few months, my self-esteem disappeared like smoke. I no longer recognized myself. I avoided seeing friends, stopped visiting my family, and even my work performance declined. Everything revolved around how Clara was feeling. If she was calm, the day was bearable. If she was suspicious, irritable, or insecure, it was like walking on glass. I began to experience anxiety attacks, shortness of breath, and a constant feeling of tightness in my chest. It wasn't just the fear of what she might do, but of what I myself was becoming. A dull, disconnected person, voiceless. I had stopped being the protagonist of my own life. It was in this state that, ironically, Clara decided to break up with me. She said I had changed, that I wasn't the same man I'd been, that I was out of energy. Deep down, I knew she wasn't wrong. She had just drained me. But even so, I was devastated. I felt rejected, broken, as if what little of me I had left had been thrown away. I spent weeks dragging myself along, trying to understand where I had gone wrong, how everything had fallen apart like that. It was in this morning that my journey of rebuilding truly began, because sometimes the pain of loss is the push needed to wake up from a nightmare. The first few days alone were chaotic. I found myself thinking about texting, humiliating myself, trying to get back. But some part of me, still alive deep down, held me back. So I started with small steps. I started running again in the park near my house, even though my body was weak and my heart was heavy. I started forcing myself to eat right. I reconnected with 2 old friends I hadn't seen in a while. They didn't judge me, they just listened. And that's when I realized how far I drifted from everything and everyone, especially myself. Every conversation, every step, no matter how small, began to remind me that I existed outside of her. But it was when Clara started reaching out to me again that the real test began. First, long messages came, saying she missed me, that no one understood her like I did. Then she said she was sick, that she couldn't sleep, that she was thinking about doing something stupid. It was like everything was coming back. The weight, the guilt, the fear. I almost gave in, but something inside me had changed, and for the first time, I wanted to protect myself before protecting her. I blocked the numbers. I changed the passwords for everything. I told my family, and that decision, though simple, was the hardest thing I've ever made in my life. The following days were a mixture of relief and paranoia. I felt freer, but I also watched every corner of the street when I left the house. I was afraid Clara would appear out of nowhere, and it wasn't an unfounded fear. Once, I found a note on my car's windshield. It wasn't signed, but the handwriting, the passive-aggressive tone, everything screamed her name. That's when I realized that, besides getting over a relationship, I had to deal with a stalking disguised as longing. I filed a police report, something I never thought I'd do against someone I once loved. I started going to therapy more frequently. Each session was like opening a box I'd locked away for years. I uncovered old traumas, repetitive patterns, and the root of my tendency to deny myself to keep someone close. My therapist said a phrase that stuck with me: "You're not selfish for protecting yourself." It became a mantra. For the first time, I understood that love isn't synonymous with constant sacrifice, and that sometimes the love I lack most is self-love. I still had a long way to go, but something inside me had begun to blossom, a seed of freedom. Even with all the precautions, Clara didn't completely disappear from my life. She created fake social media accounts, sent cryptic messages, and used different phone numbers to send me ambiguous messages. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, thinking I'd heard someone outside the window. It was like living in a constant state of alert. Friends told me to change my number, get off the internet, disappear for a while, but I refused to run away. I felt that if I hid, I'd be giving her control once again, and I was determined not to live like that anymore. The final straw came one rainy morning when I saw her standing across the street, staring at my building. She didn't move, didn't say anything, just stood there. She was like a ghostly presence, reminding me of everything I was trying to leave behind. The next day, I took the case to the police station with messages, screenshots, and security camera recordings. Finally, I managed to get a request for a restraining order reviewed more urgently. It was strange having to explain all of this to strangers, as if I needed to justify my fear. But in that moment, I realized that fear was also a form of courage, the courage to ask for help. From that moment on, everything changed. The police began to take the case more seriously when I showed them a video she had left on a USB drive in the lobby of my building. It was disturbing. Clara appeared visibly upset, talking about how she felt rejected, invisible, and how all of us, me and that Brian guy, had discarded her when she needed her most. She cried, then laughed uncontrollably. She ended by saying that one day someone would ask about her and that I would know exactly what had happened. It was the first time I realized that this story could end much more tragically than I had imagined. And it wasn't just fear for myself, but for her as well. The situation escalated quickly. I discovered that Clara had been showing up around my work several times. One day, I received a text from an unknown number with a photo of me filling up my car with gas, accompanied by the phrase, "You look happier when you don't know I'm there." It was like living a waking nightmare. My heart was pounding constantly. I wasn't sleeping well, wasn't eating well. It was at this point that I started going to therapy because I realized it wasn't just about physical safety anymore. It was about rebuilding my sanity. My therapist helped me understand that I wasn't to blame for what was happening, and more importantly, that I wasn't alone. Clara was eventually found at her sister's house, where she was supposedly recovering from her breakup with Brian. Her sister had no idea what was going on. She thought Clara was just hanging out with friends or taking a walk to clear her head. It was the police themselves who located her, and for the first time since everything began, I felt genuine relief. She was arrested and sent for psychiatric evaluation. They uncovered more evidence, detailed notes about my schedule, habits, and movements. They also found recordings and drafts of letters she intended to send me, some manipulative, others threatening, disguised as desperation. I was shocked, but at the same time, grateful that someone was finally intervening. The trial took place months later. Clara was found capable of answering for her actions, and she was sentenced to 188 months in a minimum security prison. The truth that shattered me in that courtroom was the letter she never sent me, but which was used as evidence. In it, Clara confessed that she wasn't really sick, that she was faking it to try to generate pity, to make me come back, to give me another chance to prove I still cared. Reading it made me understand that all that terror stemmed not only from pain, but also from cold, conscious manipulation. It was cruel, but liberating. For the first time, I felt vindicated. I wasn't guilty. In the days following the trial, I felt a mix of emotions that were hard to explain. Relief that she was gone, fear of what might happen if she got out, anger for everything I'd been through, and a profound sadness at seeing someone I'd once loved end up like that. It wasn't pleasant to see Clara behind bars, but it was necessary for my peace of mind, for the safety of everyone around me, and most importantly, for myself. Little by little, I began to return to my routine with more ease. My walks became light again. My afternoon naps were no longer interrupted by paranoia, and my life, little by little, began to return to normal. But don't think it was easy. It wasn't like turning a switch and forgetting everything. For months, I had anxiety attacks when I saw women with hair similar to hers. I became obsessed with security, changed all the passwords, bought a new camera, installed an alarm in the apartment. And even so, there were days when I woke up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, swearing I heard footsteps on the stairs. The truth is, no one talks about the trauma of being emotionally persecuted, of feeling held hostage by someone who claimed to love you. But over time, and with the help of therapy, I rebuilt my trust in the world, and most importantly, in myself. Today, I can look back and realize how much I've grown, not just as someone who survived an extreme situation, but as a man, as a human being. I learned to recognize red flags early, to trust my instincts more, and to set clear boundaries without guilt. Before, I thought loving someone meant accepting everything, even the hurtful things. Today, I know that true love doesn't hurt, manipulate, or scare. Healthy love is calm, respectful, and free. Clara was a painful but necessary lesson. And as much as I wish none of this had happened, I know this experience made me stronger and more aware. I also learned to forgive myself for taking so long to get out of it, for ignoring the signs, for letting fear paralyze me. We're taught to be strong all the time, but no one teaches that sometimes being strong means knowing how to ask for help. And that's what saved me. I asked for help from friends, the police, the justice system, therapy, and little by little, I saved myself. If anyone reading this is going through something similar, I want to say, it's not weakness to want to leave. It's not excessive to protect yourself. It's not drama to ask for help. Your peace is worth so much, much more than any relationship, any guilt, any fear. Today, my life is different. I still carry scars, of course, but not with pain, but rather as a reminder of where I've been and where I never want to return. I've gone back to doing the things I love, reconnected with old ties, and allowed myself to meet new people without rushing or pressure. I've learned to respect my time. When I look in the mirror, I see someone who faced chaos and came out the other side whole, perhaps a little more cautious, but whole. And that, for me, is already a huge victory. Overcoming doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the simple act of being able to sleep peacefully. I share this story because I know many people live in silently abusive relationships where fear and doubt mix with affection. I want this to be a reminder that there is a way out, that no matter how deep you think you've fallen, there's still room to start over. I'm not a hero. I'm just an ordinary person who went through something difficult and decided not to drown. Life showed me the worst of someone I loved, but it also showed me the best of myself. And that, in the end, is what saved me.